Hello and welcome to the Confidence Academy podcast. My name is Lily Badcock and I am a transformational confidence coach and founder of the Confidence Academy Members Club, helping men and women just like you to build unshakable confidence and self-belief. Each week, I will be bringing you new episodes with advice and guidance to help you rebuild lost confidence, manage anxiety, and finally start living the life you were born to live. It is my aim to reach as many people as possible with the message that no matter what you're going through, no matter what your struggle may be, there is hope. And there is a way to create an amazing life for yourself. The incredible people I have been blessed to interview on the show are walking, talking examples of how this is possible. And I truly hope you will find their stories uplifting, inspiring, and motivational. The conversations are very open and candid and occasionally may include some adult language, so please take care when listening around little ones or grab some headphones. This podcast series is brought to you in association with Lily Badcock Confidence Coaching and the Confidence Academy Members Club. If you are ready to make the shift from anxious and frustrated to calm and confident, then visit www.lilybadcock.com today and get started with the free resources that are waiting there for you. I need you to know that you're not alone, that it can and will get easier, and that the transformation you seek is possible. You are more powerful than you know, and I'm here to teach you everything I know about harnessing that power and creating an amazing life on your terms. Before we dive in, don't forget to leave a review for us on iTunes and to check out the links in the podcast notes to the free resources we have available for you. But for now, let's get you on your way to living your epic life, free of anxiety and full of confidence. After all, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. Hello and welcome to the Confidence Academy podcast. My name is Lily Badcock. Welcome back. Today I am super duper excited because I am speaking to the gorgeous Kezia Luckett, who is a positive mindset coach, a motivational speaker, a positive psychologist, and an international best-selling author, and also the CEO, trailblazer behind Women of Contribution movement. So that in itself is quite incredible. Kezia, welcome to my podcast and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
I think you already win the prize for most exciting introduction. Like that's the most impressive introduction. Like that is some list that you've got there. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So I've invited Kezia on because Kezia and I are both part of the Female Entrepreneur Association, which I've mentioned so many times that I'm actually thinking I should have some kind of affiliate link going on because I just love it and I talk about it a lot and we're both part of that. And so that is in itself such an inspiring and motivating space to be in online. It's all women who are running businesses of all different kinds and, you know, not just helping people in the world, but really helping themselves to step into their vision and to follow their passion and their purpose. So I'm always excited when I get to interview one of my fellow FEA members. But Kezia has done something truly, truly inspiring and truly awesome. And I'm going to let Kezia tell you all about it. But just in a nutshell, you just had this vision one day. It was like a bolt of lightning. You just had this idea to create this amazing thing you've created, and I'm building it up. We will tell you what it is in a minute.
I don't disappoint.
No, not at all. And the reason I wanted to share this story, not just because I firmly believe in what you're doing, and I'm so proud to be even a small part of it by having you here on this podcast, but you did what I talk about all the time, which was you tuned into your intuition. You trusted what you heard and then you acted on it. And what has transpired off the back of that is truly remarkable. So I'm going to put everyone out of their misery and I'm going to let you explain what the hell I'm talking about now and go ahead and tell your story. We can't wait to hear it.
Well, you make it sound so glamorous, but I'm going to bring it down a few notches. So I ran a business before. I ran a female concierge business, and essentially I burnt myself out. I grew a business from 5 to 35 members, basically helping corporate women juggle the work-life balance, which many of us have when we have children and we're trying to juggle too many things. But Christmas 2016, it was Boxing Day, and at the time I lived back in the UK, and I woke up early because, like many people on Boxing Day, you wake up with a fuzzy head. For me, it's just a couple of glasses of wine that tends to do it. But I decided, you know what, I just need to get out. I need to get out. I need to have a walk. I need to get some fresh air. And it was pouring down with rain, so I put on my wet weather jacket, my welly boots, and headed out the door. And nothing really prepared me for what was coming up next. Within 5 minutes of walking, these images and visions and voices and questions started to come, and they started off slowly, and then they just got louder and quicker and more intense. And it got to the stage where it's just like, okay, all right, I understand. And I went home, and everybody was still asleep, sat in front of the computer, and my fingers just started to type frantically. And when I sat back and reviewed what I'd written, not only did I have the idea for the Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self book, which I think is what you were alluding to, but also the Women of Contribution movement. And the Women of Contribution movement believes that absolutely every single woman out there, I don't care what your qualifications are, what your status is, what job you do, absolutely every woman on this planet can leave an impactful footprint when they collaborate and share their gifts with the world. And all too often I was hearing women saying, well, it's just me, I can't offer a lot, and I don't believe that. And the book really was to show women that even something as simple as a story can have a massive impact. And I didn't do it alone. Though I created it, I basically put it out to the universe and started talking to people. And 18 phenomenal women from around the world basically stepped forward to share pivotal moments of traumatic and difficult experiences in life. And they wrote notes back to their younger self, sharing the hope, wisdom, and inspiration that they've gained through living through those experiences and coming out the other end.
It's just so beautiful. I mean, I'm covered in goosebumps, even on my eyeballs, which I didn't even think was the thing. And it's so inspiring because I think, there are women who maybe have an inkling that they could possibly do something. But I think even those women struggle from time to time to really believe that they can pull it off. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to do something that I love. In fact, several things that I love to do. And I know people look at me and they think that I'm this positive ball of energy and, that I'm always go, go, go. But I definitely have days where I don't believe I can do it, or I don't feel like that I'm worthy of the result. And on top of that, I also know countless women who would just say, up front, there's nothing special about me. There's no way that I could ever do that. And I completely agree with you. I just think, nobody's here by accident. Nobody's here for nothing. And I think, women and men, we all have this job to do, but there's something a little bit magical about women. And I think we are so strong. And when we pull together, we're completely unstoppable. We're like a force of nature. And what your movement is doing and what your book is doing is it's giving women a chance to share their stories. It's given them a voice to allow other women to see that they're not on their own and that there is hope. And it's also, you're really bridging that gap. The thing I love about this book, which we haven't really explained, is the book is designed to find the people that need it. So the idea is, you've put this book together with all these inspiring stories, and now all of you that have contributed are going out into the world, and you're leaving these books in coffee shops and airports and just anywhere you feel called to leave it, in the belief, in the firm faith that the people that need to find the book are going to find it. And I think I'm right in saying there's a space in the book. Is there a space in the book for people to write a message to the next person they leave it for?
So there's 10 spaces at the front of the book, and the idea is once you get the book and you've read the book, is you pay it forward. So you write your own message of hope, wisdom and inspiration, what you feel drawn to write, because as you've just said, the universe is a powerful force, and actually when you leave that book, the right person will pick it up. And we were just talking about the fact that I flew back to Barcelona from a speaking event recently and left the book in Gatwick Airport, and then went upstairs to have something to eat, and then noticed that the cafe overlooked where I'd left the book. And a family sat down, and the gentleman picked up the book and he looked at the post-it note. So we always put a post-it note on the front that says, "This book's for you, read it, love it, pay it forward." And he quickly flicked through, and then he put the book down. And I just knew in that moment that book was not for him. It wasn't meant for him. Now, I didn't see what happened. I got called for the flight, but the chances are he left that book there and somebody else came in behind him, and they would have picked up that book and they would have taken it away with them. And that's what, it's a traveling book. It's a kind of living, breathing modality of getting messages out there to people. And it's a traveling book.
I just love it. I love it for so many reasons. I love the energy of not hanging on to it for a start. I think that in itself is so powerful that, you know, I could probably do a whole podcast series, let alone episode, you know, the power of allowing flow and not holding on. And the fact that, you know, you've got such faith in this book that you're saying, read it, take what you need from it, and then give it away. You know, it's not about, oh, but I want to sell another copy, so, you know, leave a link where people can buy it. You're saying share this book, and on top of that, you are giving every single person that reads that book a voice of their own. Because I know, you know, obviously in order for this book to work, there's going to be a limit to how many people can contribute to each book, and I know there's another one now in the making, so there's more coming. But what you're doing is you're taking that limit away. You're saying, okay, well, these 18 women contributed to this book, but now the world gets to share their voice. You're giving, it doesn't matter who finds that book, whether they are a top CEO of a multi-million-pound company, or whether they are, you know, a young mum who just had a baby and is maybe not even 20 yet. It doesn't matter who they are. They get to leave their own inspiring message. They get to feel the awesome power of paying it forward, of sharing that amazing advice and energy with whoever finds it next. I just think it's so magical. It's I'm absolutely stoked to have you on here. And the other thing, I mean, I talk about the universe a lot, and we all know it's magic, and it actually isn't magic. It just is what it is, but it feels like magic. And the thing I find really, really interesting was we've connected through the Female Entrepreneur Association. I have stumbled across several people who just happen to have been authors in that first book by complete, you know, nothing linked. It's just a complete separate thing. I just happen to have found these women. And only last week I read an advert on Facebook, and generally I scroll past those ads now, because to me there's a lot of noise on Facebook. There's a lot of all the adverts look the same. They're all saying, oh, you can be a multimillionaire in 5 minutes, click this link, you know, and it bores me, so I don't look. But this advert caught my attention, and it was teaching a method called EAM, which is the energy alignment method. And since the end of last year, I've been drawn to learn more about energy work, and I've worked with a couple of amazing people that are coming onto the podcast. And anyway, I found this advert, and I actually signed up for this 5-day challenge, and it's with a lady called Yvette Taylor, who just so happens to be one of the women who contributed to this book. I just love how it's all connecting. It's just, you know, and part of me goes, oh my God, that's magic, that's amazing. And the other part of me just goes, meh, of course, that's how the world works. Like, when you are in this flow, and when you are, you know, receptive to these things, of course they all show up, and of course it all starts to make sense. And I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So what I wanted to ask you, oh God, there's so much I want to ask you. First of all, tell me who did you write the book for? I know that this came as the book almost wrote itself through you, didn't it? And through these other women. It was kind of a divine intervention. But who, as you were putting this together and as you got more and more connected with what this project was and who it was for, just go a little deeper into who you're trying to reach through this book and through the Women of Contribution movement, because for sure they're going to be listening to this podcast now, and there's potentially women listening who are already discounting themselves from this, and I know that you want to let them know that they shouldn't do that and that they all have a voice. So just speak a little more on who this is for and who you're looking to impact and what your hopes and dreams are for that.
It's for every woman. At the end of the day, every woman has something that they can leave as a legacy. It could be that you're the best mum. It could be that you're the best teacher. It could be that you make people laugh. Everybody's got their unique gifts. And when I thought about putting this book together, it was for every woman. And it's been really interesting journey so far, because recently I've had somebody say, well, this is great for the next generation. This is great for those young women that are going through that difficult time of trying to find their place in the adult world. And there are some bits within the book that, wouldn't necessarily be shared with a much younger woman. I know with my daughter, she wanted to read it. She's 12. And I chose which chapters she could read, because some of them covered what I consider adult information, and therefore I wouldn't want a 12-year-old reading it. But young women coming into adulthood, 16, 17, 18 and going up, that are finding difficult times. I mean, we've got such a vast array of different stories. And a lot of people have said, well, these are extraordinary women. But actually, they weren't, no one's ordinary. And I think this is the thing to try and say. A lot of people say, well, you've chosen, those movers and shakers in the world. These people were just ordinary until something happened in their life, and they decided to share their story. So we have a wonderful lady, Laura Chappelli, who shares her story of bulimia. We have an amazing lady called Debbie Montgomery Johnson, who's well known as being the woman behind the smile, because she was diddled out of millions on internet banking, internet online dating fraud. So these were ordinary people who have kind of stepped forward and actually made it their life mission to go out there and build businesses around their experiences and their desire and passion to help others. And you don't have to think big picture to have an impact on the world. But interestingly enough, we're getting a lot of men that have read the book. And I was at an event recently, and this gentleman came up to me and he went, "Oh, fantastic, you're here." And I went, "Oh, okay." And he said, "I've read your book cover to cover." And I'm looking at him thinking, I don't think so. I really don't. And then he said to me, "Well, I found your book in a bedside cabinet in a hotel in Morocco." And at that point I thought, no, he definitely hasn't read our book. It's only been out a week, 4 weeks. Yeah. And he said, "And I love the bit in your chapter when you said," and I'm getting goosebumps now even talking about it. And I went, "Oh my goodness, you really have read the book?" And he said, "Yes. And I'm here because inside the book was a flyer for Women Work, which was the event that I was at." And he said, "So I've come to buy 3 more books for women of contribution in my life so that I can pay them forward." And it was at that moment that I realized the extent of how big this could be. And everything about this project has been miraculous, from the vision. We've had Marie Diamond from the hit film The Secret step forward to write the foreword. We had Marcy Shimoff, who's also in The Secret, but was also one of the co-authors for Chicken Soup for the Soul. She endorsed the book. Everything started moving in a way to bring this book to light. I won £20,000 worth of mission and branding coaching with a lovely lady called Sammy Blundell, and she was a driving force to kicking me up the backside and going, "You have to get this out," because I too had those fears. I'm naturally an introvert. I like the idea of going out there and impacting on lives, but if I could do it from the comfort of my own home where no one can see me, that's great. And she just gave me the royal kick up the backside and said, "No, you have to get it out there." And now what's happened is we've got the new group of women who are stepping forward to be a part of this movement, along with all those people out there who are buying their own copies, and they're paying it forward. They're being a part of our mission, and our mission is to impact on 1 billion lives, because not only do people get to read the words of wisdom, hope and inspiration, a percentage of all our profits for this book goes to a charity called Move to End Domestic Violence. So we're trying to impact on the world in as many ways as possible, so that people really can understand what it means to collaborate and contribute in a way that is special to them.
I love that. And I've got so many questions like firing at me, and I'm trying to decide which way to go with it. First of all, I want to speak to the people listening who, like you say, are thinking, well, those women are extraordinary, or those women aren't like me, you know, because I know that people listening to this, they have an array of different things. There is people that would identify with having anxiety. There's people that have depression. There's people that are seriously stressed, seriously overwhelmed. That I know for a fact there are a bunch of women who are all of those things and putting on a mask for the world, so nobody even knows that about them. And I know actually you have your own story that completely relates to that, so perhaps we'll talk about that in a minute, about the fact that you know, things that you've been through that even your husband didn't know about until you decided to share. And so I want to just speak to those women, and I want to reiterate what you said, that you know, that there is nobody came down on a gold bolt of lightning, that nobody was kind of, you know, that it's not like there's a handful of people who were, you know, spiritually touched. Like, every single one of us is a miracle. And I did a podcast interview last night, and I have no idea what order these episodes are going to go out in, so I don't know whether this is going to make sense or not, because I don't know if anyone will have heard that episode yet. But we were talking about the fact that if you actually look at what scientifically has to happen for a human being to even get here, let alone survive, you know, it's a miracle that any one of us made it. And so, you know, obviously everybody's lives vary so differently. And I think it can be very, very easy if you're somebody who finds yourself in a life that is not in alignment for you, which means a life that you wake up in the morning and it drags you down, and you look around and you think, this isn't what I wanted, this, you know, and you're maybe in the energy of thinking, oh, well, but this is my life. This just is what it is. And some people get lucky and some people don't. What would you say to those women that are listening? And what would your advice be to them? If somebody's listening and is even a little bit inspired by what you've done, then what could they do today to start recognizing the beauty that's within them and the extraordinary impact that they get to have? What would your advice be to those women?
I think oftentimes we go through life with our eyes closed. We don't realize the impact that we have on those people around us, the impact that, you know, just having a conversation with a friend and giving them a good advice, and then they go home and speak with their family, and it changes things in the family dynamic. They never really understand the full impact of what it is that we do in this life. And we are all unique, totally and utterly unique. Even if you have two twins that are identical, the way that they view the world, their experiences, the people that they bump into, their memories, everything is absolutely unique. And when you realize how unique you are, you realize that nobody else can fill that you-size shaped space in the world. That is for you and for you only. And everybody has experiences and stories that they can tell. I'm in my final couple of months of you know, doing a master's to become a positive psychologist, and my main focus is on stories, those stories that we tell ourselves. But everybody can tell a story from the age of learning to talk to the minute that we die, and those stories are so unique. So I would suggest to somebody that everybody has a purpose on this planet. It's a case of finding that purpose and understanding it. And that's one of the things that I do, is I work with many clients who are looking to find that purpose and understand why they've been put here, why they are so unique, why they are so special, and how their skills, their experiences, their stories, their voice has to be heard by others in whatever format that takes. Whether, like I say, that's being the best mom, the best artist, a speaker on stage, it doesn't matter. It's unique to you. And once you understand your purpose on this planet, that's when the excitement starts. And that's when, like you say, you jump out of bed in the morning, not every morning, obviously, but you jump out of bed in the morning and you feel good about what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. And I think I want to say as well, I'm going to ask you to share a bit of your backstory in a minute so that people can understand, because I think it's easy to listen to an episode like this and straight away to dismiss it, to go, oh, well, you haven't lived what I've lived, like you haven't struggled, like you've had a blessed life or whatever. So I want people to hear your backstory in a second. But I want to share something that I've learned and that I'm continually learning. And even that lesson came up again for me this week, which was, we seem to be, and I don't know if this is everybody, or I don't know if this is an anxiety thing, if it's just like a personality type, but I've definitely through my life found that I'm constantly looking at other people that I admire and then beating myself up because I'm not doing something that they're doing, and then I tell myself that I'm not worth anything because of that. And I look at what I perceive to be my flaws, and I spend so much time trying to rectify my flaws, and the whole time I'm not giving any attention or any energy to the things that I am naturally good at, naturally gifted at. And this hit me even just yesterday, because I've had a funny old week, and you know, for the most part, like, I know I'm on my purpose now and I know what I'm doing, and I am confident about that. However, I still have this tendency to it's like I have to find things that are wrong and then I have to fix them. And I just guess I wanted to touch on that because, first of all, I want people to know that no one's immune to that. You know, I run a friggin' academy called the Confidence Academy, and I still struggle with confidence at times, you know, and this podcast as well. So, you know, nobody is immune to that. But what I learned from this week, and I was very, very blessed actually, because I've got an amazing friend who has been able to mirror this back to me. And at a time when, you know, most people would have just gone, oh, I can't even be dealing with this anymore, and walked away. She keeps coming back and saying to me, you're a beautiful person and this is what you're good at, and stop beating yourself up that maybe you're not so good at the other thing, you know. To give it an analogy, when I was at school, I was amazing at English, like ridiculously good at English, and terrible at maths. Like it was literally black and white, you know, amazing at English, terrible at maths. And I just remember I didn't come out of school feeling pumped up because I was so good at English. I've just carried with me for years this heaviness that, oh, I'm no good at maths. It's like this belief that we have to be amazing at everything, and that, you know, so I like what you said, that, you know, yes, for some people, impacting the world and following their purpose does mean that they get to be on a stage. It does mean that they impact millions. Maybe they become famous. Maybe they write a book like you've done. But there are equally people who will change the world in such an understated way. You don't have to do it from the world stage. You don't have to do it with all eyes on you. And it really takes every different kind of thing for that to work. And so I guess my point is, you know, if you're looking around going, oh, but, you know, I could never do what Kezia's done. I could never do a book, and I could never do what Lily's done. I could never do a podcast. It doesn't matter. There's going to be things that you are amazing at. And I've done an episode on this before. You might think it's worth nothing, but every single thing that you do is for a purpose, and it's for a reason, and it's powerful. And, you know, for example, of the many things I know I'm good at, one of the things I'm absolutely the best at is a turtle coming out of hibernation impression. Like that is, I would defy anyone to better my impression of a turtle coming out of hibernation. And I have talked about this before, but, you know, it would be easy for me to think, when I'm having one of my pity parties, it would be easy for me to think, well, how is that helping anyone in the world? You know, when Mother Teresa did the work that she did, you know, when Marie Forleo, when Oprah, like, impacts all these women, how is me doing a turtle coming out of hibernation impression helping anyone? But when I do it, it spreads joy. It makes people laugh. And isn't that an amazing gift to have, you know? And it's not the only thing I can do. I'm also very good at making a cheese sandwich. I'm just going to say that as well. But there's an
I'm
art
rubbish at
form to it.
that.
See, there you go. But the thing is, my point is to everybody listening, every single person, there's going to be things that you are naturally gifted at. There are going to be things that you're really terrible at. There's going to be things that you're maybe not naturally gifted at, but that you care to learn about. And we are all exactly the same. And the magic happens when you can keep your focus on the things that light you up and the things that you are naturally good at and the things that you like to learn about. And don't worry if, it doesn't matter if you can't be a public speaker or if you can't run in a marathon like none of that matters. Your life is for you. And there's a reason why you can do the things you can do. And I wanted to make that point. So to bring it back to something I said a little while ago, because we haven't touched on this yet, I kind of alluded to the fact that when you did, I believe this actually was your first public speaking appearance, and it was a pretty big, whopping, great thing to do. You ended up sharing a story about your life that even your husband hadn't been aware of. So do you just want to talk a little bit about that and about your backstory and why you're so passionate about this project as well?
So when I had the vision for the book, like I say, miraculous things started happening. And I remember going to bed one day and just as I was dropping off saying, I'm ready now. I'm ready to be visible. I'm ready to step up, step in and become visible. And the following day, I received an email that said, you've been asked whether you would be part of a documentary series that we're putting together on transformational change makers. It would involve flying to San Diego, and you'd be taken out of your comfort zone with a variety of other transformational change makers. And the project is a phenomenal project called Awakening Giants, and they're still going through the filming and getting all those people together at the moment. But one part of it was that you had to stand up on stage and give a talk. And I remember phoning up the organizer and saying, look, I have no idea. Yes, I've presented before. I presented in my previous job in corporate, but not really stood up on stage, and especially not in front of people that I don't know. And she said, well, probably the best thing is if you start to think about, maybe look at some of those stories that you've never shared. And so I did some soul searching. I remember being sat on the floor in the UK in our living room and thinking, well, what on earth can I share? What kind of story do I have to share? Now, this is the person who's put together stories for other people, but I'm just sitting there thinking, well, what have I got to share? And then all of a sudden it came to me, and I remember writing it up. And probably for the first 60 times that I tried to do it, I just kept finding myself in floods of tears. I mean, literally bawling my eyes out. And I thought, well, this isn't going to work. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to have to go for it. So I ended up being on stage in San Diego, my first speaking event, hooked up to a microphone with lots of cameras, at all angles, discussing, firstly, the fact that I was sharing something that had never been shared before, and that my husband didn't know the ins and outs of the story. But also the fact that I was thousands of miles from home in a room of strangers. And I shared a story of me suffering with postnatal depression after the birth of my second child. And the fact that one day I remember going up the stairs and hearing this noise. I went to check on both the kids after I'd put them down, and hearing this noise and thinking, what on earth is this noise? What is going on? And it sounded at the time like an animal was being ripped limb from limb. And that panic sets in. It's just like, if there is an animal, why is it in my house, and why is it close to my babies? Mm-hmm. And at the top of the stairs, on one side was my daughter's room, and the other side was my son's. And while I'm sitting there racking my brains as to what on earth is going on, I remember looking down, and my daughter was about 3, and there was this big tear just rolling down her cheek. And it was that moment, and my legs buckled beneath me, and I ended up sliding down the wall behind me, that I realized that noise was me, and I had just been wailing at the top of my lungs. And it was at that moment, and that I kind of realized that something wasn't quite right, and I didn't really understand what, and I hadn't been feeling right for a long time. And my husband, I mean, he knew that something was wrong, but he never verbalized it. He never said anything. I mean, I would phone him up from at work and say, "You need to get home now. I can't cope with the kids. You just deal with them. Just I don't want anything to do with them. Just deal with them." And it was only as I was coming out, a male friend actually said to me, "If you don't mind me saying, I think you were suffering with postnatal depression." And all of a sudden, everything made sense. And I think from my perspective, and I can't talk for everybody else's, when you have had a period of depression, there is always that possibility that it can rear its ugly head again. And I'm now really conscious of the things that potentially can trigger it, and overwhelm is a big thing for me. And I did end up burning out in my previous business in total overwhelm and frustration and overworked, and I was just burnt out. So I think the thing to say is that people need to realize that what we see on social media, and that we see this a lot, what we see on social media, and you talked about these people, how to earn $1 gazillion overnight by doing these 3 things. They're showing you what they want you to see. They're showing you the snapshots of their life that look perfect. The reality is we all have situations in our past, in our current, in our future that might not be what we hoped and dreamed for ourselves. But interestingly enough, all the women that I coach through this therapeutic process to get their stories out, one of the questions that I ask of each and every one of them is, would you change anything? And the answer 9 times out of 10 is a resounding no, because it's made them who they are. It's developed their soul, their person, their experience. It's developed them. It's added to the tapestry of their lives. It's just made them grow as individuals. And in positive psychology, we talk about building that resilience in the face of adversity. And when we build resilience in the face of adversity, we can achieve more, do more, be more as we take those steps forward. So don't ever look at what somebody's doing on the surface and think that they've got everything sewn up, because the chances are there's bits that they haven't. And actually, that's okay. We're human after all. It can't be all roses. We've got to have some level of contrast. If we were happy all the time, positive psychologists get a bad rap that, everything's about happiness. But actually, some of those other so-called bad emotions, such as fear and anger and sadness, are pretty good too.
Yeah, they all have a purpose. In fact, I've referenced this film before, but Disney made a film called Inside Out, which explains that perfectly. It's just like, the film makes me cry every time because it's so profound, and it's amazing for kids. If you've got kids, they'll just enjoy it because it's got bright colors and it's quite funny. But as an adult, it's the whole time, isn't it? They're trying to decide what sadness is, purpose is. Like, why is sadness even here? Like, what does she do? And then you realize that the whole, she's just as important as all the other emotions. And actually, on that note, it's just reminded me of a lady that I met a few years ago. I run a choir here in Salisbury, and she'd come along for, we offer a free trial, and she'd come for the free trial. And I remember she got emotional after we sang one of the songs, and it turned out that she'd lost her daughter at 4 years old. And it was really, really emotional, but she said something that I'll never forget it. And the strength of the woman just absolutely astounded me. And that was, in fact, I think she wrote a poem about it, or a blog or something. And she said that even though she's part of this club that she never wanted to be part of, like, she would never have chosen to have lost a child at 4, she felt grateful and thankful because she understood love like no one else would ever understand it. And for her to have that take on it, and I just think that's something we can all learn from, because like you said, as human beings, we are all going to have times in our life when life gets difficult. And I pray my life never gets so difficult that I have to face anything even like that. But the truth is, some people do face that, and some people face that multiple times as well. The thing is that, you were talking about building resilience in the face of adversity. The point is, if you're still here, then you have already done that, even if you don't know you have. Even if you're sat listening to this podcast right now thinking that you've completely failed, you haven't, because you're still here. Like, you have the resilience, you just haven't recognized it. And the fact that this lady was able to say, you know, in the face of this awful scenario, in this awful situation, that she was still able to be grateful. She was still thankful that that was her journey, and she wouldn't have changed it for the world. She wouldn't have chosen to not have that child or to not have that experience. And I think that, you know, that literally put me on the floor when she said that. I was thinking, what an amazing woman, but what an uplifting and amazing example of what a human being is capable of as well. And you know, since then, obviously, like you say, we all have struggles, we all have days where it feels difficult, and you know, I will never forget that. And I always just think, if she can, then I can. You know, if that lady can live through that and still find the gratitude, and it's not about painting on a happy smile and papering over pain at all. It's just about saying, I acknowledge this pain, but I also acknowledge the amazing gift that came with it. And that's what she was saying. So I felt like it was poignant to share that at that point, because it's exactly what you were talking about. So, oh my goodness, this has just been absolutely amazing. I feel like I could talk to you forever and ever and ever. So let's just wrap up with, for now, I feel like we're going to probably have to revisit this at some point. I did mention earlier, there's another book now in the making, isn't there? I believe that you're currently speaking to the women that are going to contribute to this next one. So we'll definitely put a link to that, because if anybody is listening and thinking that maybe you have a story to share, and I want to say, if you're going, oh, what story could I possibly share, then take Kezia's advice and do what she did, and tell yourself you have a story, because you're a human being and stuff has happened. Like, you know, and to you might just be thinking, oh, but that was just life. To somebody else, it's going to be massively transformational and massively motivating to hear it. So if you want more information about that, then we'll put the link for Kezia as well. If you want to get hold of the book, and I just suggest that everybody gets hold of the book. I need to get hold of the book. I haven't got a copy. I need to make sure I get one.
I'll send you one.
Oh, bless your heart. Yeah, we need to get this out in the Confidence Academy community. And I want to hear from you guys. What I would love, though, because, you know, there's 50,000 people listening to this podcast now. I feel out of those 50,000, it's highly likely someone's going to have found a book. If you find one of these books organically, I want to know about it. And I'm sure Kezia wants to hear as well. Because that would be next level amazing, wouldn't it? Because quite often these books are being left, and like you say, like the thing at the airport, you got to see a guy pick it up, but then it turned out it wasn't for him, so you never got to see who it was for. So if we get to hear back from someone, if you've found this book, I want to know where you found it. I want to know what it meant to you, what it did for you at the time. I just think, how amazing would that be if, you know, whatever sort of day you were having, if you picked up that book at the moment you needed it, and a complete stranger was able to tell you exactly what you needed to hear in that moment. That's just bloody magic, isn't it? It's so brilliant.
It's like a real life treasure hunt.
I love it. It's so amazing. So yes, please get in touch if you have found one of these books, and we'll put all of the links up as well. So Kezia, as we always finish on this point, if you had a megaphone, which you kind of do through your book, really, and the ability to reach every anxiety sufferer and everyone in the world suffering from overwhelm, stress, and this feeling of not being good enough, what would your inspiring message to them be, and what would you want them to know?
Funny enough, this comes up a lot, and I hear this a lot. And the biggest thing that I would say is ask for help, because as women, we believe that we should have this mask on of being able to do it all and cover it all and being able to do it by ourselves. And I'll be the first to put my hand up and say that I dip in and out of that myself. If you're in overwhelm, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, if you're, you know, frustrated, any of those things, it's about asking for help. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is just to find somebody and just say, do you know what? Even if it's a partner, do you know what? Actually, I need some help. I need you to pick up some of the slack because I'm going through something at the moment. And it's not a failing if you do that. Actually, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do is actually put your hand up and say, I need some help. That takes more guts and resilience than anything else to be able to stand up and say, I need help. So that would be the first thing that I would say is, if you're feeling those things, ask for help, because I didn't, and it almost tipped me over the edge. So most definitely.
I completely agree. And I want to add to it as well. I want to say, when you ask somebody for help, you're giving that person a gift. Because, the people that suffer with anxiety also seem to be the people who like to help everybody else before they help themselves. So by our very nature, we seem to be people that we thrive on helping. So what a gift to say to somebody else, I need your help. And, this was something I struggled with when I realized anxiety was something I was dealing with. And I am someone I would class myself as a doer. If I see something wrong, I feel like I want to put it right. So that idea of fixing myself and fixing what's wrong, I really relate to, because that's completely my nature. And I told myself a story for a while that there was nobody I could ask. And it wasn't because I thought I was above being helped, or that, I wasn't, that, people weren't worthy to have that job. I just genuinely thought that I would be putting on that person, and that it would be a negative thing if I said, actually, I'm struggling. And when I got over myself and asked for the help, because in the end, I didn't know what else to do, I found that it helped me to see, people that I'd helped in the past were suddenly going, oh my God, now I get to help you. And this is what life is about. It's about this exchange. It's not, there's not a bunch of us here that are meant to help and then a bunch of us here that are meant to get the help. We're all both. Like, we're all supposed to do both of those things. And actually a massive, massive part of my healing has been helping other people, because every time I help someone, I help myself as well. So you are giving somebody else that opportunity. You don't know what they need from that exchange, from that experience. So, if you need to put that spin on it where you're still helping other people, then spin it like that and just go, well, okay, I give you the gift of helping me because I'm struggling, and maybe you'll get something from it as well. So amazing.
And you can't be a good woman of contribution unless you learn how to receive. Because everything in life is about balance, whether it's night and day or hot and cold, give and receive. If you're giving all the time, at some point you're going to end up burning yourself out. And that's what I learned. You have to learn to also receive, because people want to do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, like I said, that is what we're made up of. This is how we all work. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Kezia, for being here.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you on, and I will really look forward to reading that book. I'm going to make sure that I read it. If people would like to connect with you about anything we've talked about, either with questions, or if they want to buy the book, or if they want to contribute perhaps to something in the future, or if they want to know more about your movement for women of contribution, how is the best way for them? Oh, that was terrible English. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
We won't hold it against you.
Yeah. So how can they best reach you if they've got those questions?
So we have the Women of Contribution website, which is www.womenofcontribution.com. We also have a Facebook group, which is free to join, and we love not only having ladies join us, but also them honouring other women of contribution in their lives by adding them too. And that's just facebook.com/groups/women of contribution. With regards to the book, if they want to purchase a copy, if they just go into Amazon and type the Pay It Forward series Notes to My Younger Self, it should come up. It's got a lovely blue and gold cover. And they should be able to order one there. So if they do that, they should get their copy.
Perfect. And obviously, as always, I'll put those links in the show notes as well.
Yeah, and once they've bought it, what they need to do is, once they've read it, is put a post-it note, obviously write their message in the message books, but then put a post-it note on saying, this book is for you, read it, love it, pay it forward, and just leave it somewhere to find.
I love it. I got goosebumps again. I just love it. It's such an amazing idea. I want to follow up on this as well. I want to know if you've done that. I want to, maybe take pictures of where you're leaving it, or take pictures of yourself with the book, because I know Kezia would love to see that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have an official page, so they can post it on the official Pay It Forward Notes to My Younger Self book.
Brilliant.
Page. So,
brilliant.
Yeah.
What an amazing way to bring women together. Thank you so much for paying attention to your intuition and ready acting on it, because I think, we all have this intuition. You guys are all getting these nudges. It's, you're all getting these nudges to do these things, but perhaps you're talking yourself out of it. And thank you on behalf of women everywhere for not talking yourself out of this book, and for facing your own fears and stepping up over your own concerns about whether you could or you couldn't. And thank you for getting this out here, because it's going to change the world. I just know it. It's just so powerful. So thank you on behalf of women.
Thank you.
So to everybody listening, thank you once again for joining me. I've made a decision to not restrict this podcast anymore to Tuesdays and Fridays. I've learned I'm a bit of a rebel when it comes to even my own rules. And so from now on, when I interview these amazing women, I'm just going to put the interviews out a few days after that's happened. So you are going to start getting these podcast episodes a lot more. Sometimes there'll be interviews, sometimes there'll be just me. There's going to be more book reviews coming up. I've got more authors coming on who have written amazing books that will help you in the subject of building confidence, overcoming anxiety, overwhelm, stress, and all the wonderful stuff that we talk about on here. So keep an ear out for that. But thank you for tuning in. I'll be back soon with another episode. And remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. I'll be back soon. Bye-bye. And that's us done for another episode. I hope you are now feeling uplifted, inspired, and motivated, and ready to start making those positive changes starting today. If you loved this episode and would like to connect with me or any of my amazing guests, then get on over to the Facebook group and join the conversation there. And for additional support and accountability, why not become a member of the Confidence Academy Members Club? You will find all of the relevant links in the show notes beneath this episode. In the meantime, I'll be back again soon with another new episode and more amazing guest experts. But until then, look after yourself, dream big and live bigger. And remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it.